Um, so thanks for having me today. My name's Steve Prager. I am the outreach biologist for Audubon Southwest. Here to talk today about our work with craft breweries and hopefully inspire some creative thinking about non-traditional partnerships and how they can advance our conservation goals. So for those of you not familiar with Audubon Southwest, you might know Audubon Arizona and or Audubon New Mexico. We are the new regional office as of last year that formed from the merger of those two offices. We work to protect birds and their habitats through a diversity of work, from education to science and research to advocacy to hands-on restoration work. But I think the common thread that runs through it all is that point in bold there, and that's that Audubon specializes in putting people to conservation action for birds and their habitats. So the program I'm here to talk about today is the Western Rivers Brewers Council. This is a coalition of craft brewers that further our efforts to protect rivers and water across the Colorado River Basin by helping us with things like outreach, storytelling, and also by serving as frontline advocates. Before I dive into it though, I want to talk a little bit about how the program came to be. And I just realized my camera's not on, so I'm going to be less weird and open that up. So to give you some background, I need to quickly mention the Western Rivers Action Network. This network is a coalition of Audubon members, birders, hunters, and anglers, businesses, and others that share a common goal of protecting rivers and water across the West. And we work towards these goals by motivating our respective networks to take advocacy action on ongoing policy issues. The idea behind the network is that water policy is really kind of wonky and sometimes really boring. And it's really hard to see how the things that you care about day to day are impacted by water policy. So we work to kind of translate these issues and turn them into something actionable. And by doing that, we can motivate a lot of people to take action around water issues. We take kind of a grassroots and grass tops approach. Some of the grassroots things are things like action alerts, monthly newsletters, webinars, other online resources. The grass top stuff are things like in-person meetings with policymakers, coalition letters, and kind of inter-organization collaboration and coordination. So while the Western Rivers Action Network has a lot going for it, there's always been kind of a glaring problem, and that is the sorts of folks that we have involved. We have the groups that I mentioned, but that's far from the full list of folks impacted by water issues. And frankly, it fails to include some of the folks that are going to be most directly impacted by water insecurity in the West. So the question is, as it always is, how do we engage the rest of these people that have a stake in this issue, but may not know how to take action? So in comes beer. We've thought about this question before in the context of our state level programs, specifically out of the Rio Salado Audubon Center in Phoenix. And one of our most successful solutions has been our monthly Birds and Beer program. It's a happy hour style event that combines craft beer from local brewer Arizona Wilderness Brewing Company with a short presentation from a local conservation professional, usually with some sort of action opportunity or engagement opportunity kind of mixed in. The style of the program and the fact that we can be really intentional in the speakers that we choose and pick speakers that are appealing to the audiences we're hoping to engage. This program's been successful in bringing in urban participants that are younger and more diverse than our usual crowd. And I bring that up because I know it's not just a goal of ours, but also the Fish and Wildlife Service and others, as evidenced by the EDI section coming up in these sessions, I think tomorrow, and the Urban Bird Treaty program as well. So during a regular month, which we haven't had in a while because of COVID, we can bring in somewhere between 60 and 120 people with this program every month, about half of which are new to Audubon. So thinking about the success of this program and trying to apply that to our water work, it started to make sense in a couple of different ways. The first is this from one of our brewers, Wren House Brewing Company in Phoenix. Craft breweries are a local kind of hub for their communities, and the people that go there tend to be a little bit more community minded, sometimes a little bit more sustainably minded than the community as a whole. You know, you're going to a place like Arizona Wilderness instead of like the Cracker Barrel or something for a reason. You're kind of picking out these local places. And craft brewers also, they take this very seriously. Working with brewers, the one thing I continue to be impressed about is their high hopes of achieving a lot of good with the work that they do. They really want their craft to benefit the communities they work in, and it shows. The second is this, when you're talking about water, it's not just kind of a partnership in name. We're not asking them to jump on our priorities that they don't care about. They're very aware that clean, reliable water into the future is a critical part of their business model. You can't brew without water, and birds need water. So it's a very real relationship. Oops. The last thing I want to mention is this. So it may come as a surprise, but not all of our policymakers are motivated by birds or rivers or water resources or habitat, but a good chunk of them are motivated by economic concerns, and small businesses are a big piece of that. And the craft brewing industry is a large and growing small business sector. So a lot of times they can advocate for the same policies that Audubon is, but from a very different perspective that might be more likely to be listened to. So it was with all of that reasoning in mind that we launched the Brewers Council with Arizona Wilderness as our founding member. But we weren't going to get very far with just one, so we set ourselves to recruitment. And this is the ask. It's real simple. Be a visible supporter of sustainable water management and healthy rivers through things like sharing action alerts, signing letters, meeting with policymakers, attending workshops. All actions are opt-in only. There's no requirements. You can sit anything out. We never ask for free product, and we never ask for a financial contribution from the brewers. We really just want their voice and their network. And it's worked. So we have about 28 brewers on, I think 27 brewers plus the Arizona Brewers Guild on board now in Arizona and Colorado. And we're working to push into New Mexico. So we have these brewers on board, but what are they doing and how is it benefiting birds? The first is that they help us share with kind of communications work. It helps us reach a kind of broad, diverse audience that we couldn't as Audubon reach on our own. These are folks that may not be connected to birds or habitat or conservation simply because they haven't been presented with the information. They do this through online resources like newsletters, action alerts, social media, and then in person at their brew pubs, and also kind of between breweries through industry-specific communications. They help us tell stories that motivate activists, earn us media, and help us push policy. This article is from the Arizona Republic. It highlights one of our collaborative brews. It was an IPA. We called it Rain Crow IPA, and it celebrated the Western Yellow-billed cuckoo. And we were able to use this as a vehicle to talk about the drought contingency plan, which was a critical piece of legislation, kind of a must-pass piece. And as you all know, the news has been very dense for the last 4 years. So being able to get ahead of the curve with a story like this and talk about not only important policy and how people can take action around it, but from the perspective of birds and habitat, which doesn't always happen. Oops, went the wrong way. There we go. They also help us recruit volunteers. So this is the label from another one of our brews called U9 Lager, named for a relocated burrowing owl. that was a part of our relocation project here in Phoenix. And this one made sense for a couple of reasons. The first brings to mind, again, the Urban Bird Treaty. These birds are a species that are kind of very directly and visibly impacted by urban and suburban development. And their conservation is in part going to require the willingness of residents in those places to invest in their conservation. So getting this bird in front of this audience was right. And the second is that burrowing owls are just crazy charismatic. So being able to get a burrowing owl on a can of beer wasn't something I was going to say no to. They also help out by putting an effort on the ground. These signs are from an installation at Arizona Wilderness's downtown Phoenix beer garden. Arizona's first bird-friendly beer garden. And this is kind of a demonstration garden that connects people to Audubon's Plants for Birds program and the idea of using native plants to improve the spaces in which we live. They also take direct policy action. So this is the crew from Arizona Wilderness with Representative TJ Shope at the Arizona Capitol. And they also do it in writing. So this is an example of one of our coalition letters. This one specifically was about a precursor piece of legislation needed to pass the drought contingency plan. So it's worked, and to close it out, I just want to mention a couple of reasons why I think that is so. One is that it provides benefits to the brewers. They're able to access our network, and our network are potential customers, and we're able to get their beer into the media. It's a tight market, craft brewing. There's a new brewery on every corner. So being able to stand out is important, especially during COVID, which has hit them really hard. And we give them real opportunities to take action. They really want to do good, and giving them the outlet to do that is seen as kind of a gift. Things that resonated were a real connection to the goals, specifically around water. Our ask was different and unique. Brewers get asked all the time for money and for product and for event space. And we don't want any of that. We just want their voice. And I think they noticed that. And the Audubon brand helped. If you work for an organization or an agency that has a well-known brand and it's respected, it goes a long way. Some lessons learned: when building coalitions, find a real connection between your goals and your partners. Don't ask them to do favors for you. Find something you can work on together that you both care about. Be flexible. NGOs move really, really fast. You know, we're always on our email, always kind of go, go, go. Craft breweries aren't that way. They might check their email once a month, and you just gotta kind of chill back and not be annoying and go at their pace. Don't force a fit. If a partner is really hard to get signed on, they're going to be really hard to put to action. So don't waste your time. And offer a diversity of action opportunities if you're doing a coalition. Some brewers can come to meetings. Some don't have the staff. Some have a great social media presence. Others don't. Some can their beer. Others don't. So have a bunch of different options of ways that folks can take action, and it will help you build kind of a more diverse coalition. And that's all I got. I don't know if we want to save questions until after the next one or do them now, but.
There's a couple questions now that I think we could probably hit quickly. One is, where can we buy the Rain Crow IPA?
So Rain Crow IPA will be coming out again in August of this year, but it won't be distributed outside of Arizona. So it'll come out of Borderlands Brewing Company in Tucson if you happen to be in the state. If not, it's going to be a little trickier to get your hands on.
Okay, well then specifically Pete Mara would like you to send him a 6-pack. Then the next question is, the slide of the U.S. with the $1 billion in highlight in Arizona, was that saying that the craft beer industry is a $1 billion economic force in Arizona, or is that referencing something else?
No, that interpretation is correct.
Okay.
Yeah, they're a $1 billion and growing small business industry in the state
Okay, and I think
sector.
those are all the questions. There's some more chat, but I think those are the only questions right now. Okay, great. Thank you so much, Steve.
Absolutely.
Awesome project.